Hey, I'm Jeff, Not Dead Yet Adventures, and I've been wandering the planet for about 3 years, and I just finished this trip not too long ago, so I'm wrapping up the video series of that trip, and so I wanted to kind of just wrap it up because it was probably my worst video series ever. Super boring, just a bunch of time lapses and stuff, but I kind of wanted to recap it and give you a perspective of why it was an important video series for me. It was basically just because I could go on a trip, I went on a trip. And, one of the, I don't know how to say this, one of the dangers, I guess, or one of the things I need to be aware of and be more conscious of with my lifestyle is I have to be less impulsive. I have to really think things through because sometimes it's just so easy to go off and do things. Sometimes it's so easy to just like grab your bag and go. So, I'm trying to be more thoughtful and more planning in my, future. But this trip was literally, I was just sitting around waiting for my passport, and I'm looking at travel sites and stuff, and I'm, out walking the city, and then my passport comes in. I'd planned this little side trip inside Albania. I was in Triana waiting for my passport, and at the same time, I'm looking at all these flights and places I could go, and I'm stringing together these crazy things. Because one of the things I like to do to keep myself busy is I like to travel strange routes, right? Not just get on a plane, go someplace, and then come back, right? I like to bob and weave through the world a little bit. It's just kind of like random weird stuff when you string together different modes of transportation and you find the cheap, like super cheap routes. And that's kind of what this was. It was just like a super cheap route presented itself, and I was like, well, shit, why not go? And so I went. So the route started with me in Triana. Like I said, I got my passport. Well, I got the email that I could pick up my passport, so I booked some flights that day. I picked up my passport the next day. I flew the day after that. I went to Krakow in Poland. From there, I took a train into Slovakia, and I'm going to butcher the names, Kosice or I don't know how to say it, but that did two things for me that I've been wanting to do for a while. One, I wanted to kind of wander through those mountains between Krakow and Slovakia. There's a nice little mountain range there. So I got on a Flixbus through there. I flew from Triana to Krakow, and then I took that Flixbus. And it was a nice bus ride, lots of good scenery there. And then I wanted to see that city there in Slovakia. It's a nice little city. I was just there one night. I definitely want to go back and spend a week there or so. I stayed at the DoubleTree there. And then there's a couple things in Budapest I wanted to do on this trip specifically. I wanted to go shopping at a specific store. Because when you're in places like Albania or other, more remote places, you don't have access to all the stores you want. And a lot of times it's easier just to fly out, get what you want, and come back. You can mess with shipping stuff, you can mess with this, but that was my answers. I'll just drop into Budapest since I'm going to be in that area. I know the store I wanted to go to. And I get there and they don't have what I want. Go figure, right? No worries. But I did get a fabulous stay at they upgraded me. I booked the most basic room, and they gave me, I think, the best room in the house. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I know I was stunned. And the food, oh man, the food was so good. Zero reason to leave the hotel there. I did venture out and look for the store. And then just by chance, like things just like streamed together. Like, the random chance that falls in my lap sometimes is just amazing. So, I'm kind of stressed about getting because it was a last minute decision I was going to take the train from Budapest to Oradea, and it was a last minute decision to like take the Flixbus instead. It was going to get me there earlier. And so I was stressed to get there on time. And this guy pulls up in a Tesla. It was like the big, like super nice Tesla. He told me it was 10 years old, but I don't believe him. I guess it was, but it was so nice inside. The leather was it looked brand new. It smelled amazing. And he's just like, not overly like he's on crack, but he's got a lot of energy. He's funny. He zips me through town, and I get right to the Flixbus. And, I'm getting out of this luxury car to get on the Flixbus. People are kind of looking at me like, who's this, what's going on here, right? It just didn't make sense. So I ride the bus to Aradia. I spend the night there. I went out to this, did a few things I wanted to do in that city because I've been there a few times, so it was nice to go back. And then I got up in the morning, I jumped the train to Sigishara. I had to go through Cluj, but it was a long trip. So I got to Sigishara and started raining. I planned 3 days and 3 nights in Sigishara, and it all it did was rain. It was just really frustrating. And then I went over to Targu Marez, and I love that place as well. So I spent 2 days, I think it was 2 days there. But I got out and got to walk some of the city that I wanted to get back to and see when it wasn't raining. Because when I was there the first time, it was kind of sprinkling and raining, and I'm between rain storms or rain showers, whatever. And then from there, I went back to Bucharest to fly back to Albania. So let me break down a few of the numbers for you. The most expensive bus ride I had was 60 euro, and that was at last minute. I think it was like 66 euro. And that was that last minute bus ride from Budapest to Oradea. All the others and the train rides and stuff like that, they were all 40 or less, right? For the bus or the train. I did take the wrong train, so that cost me like an extra 5 euro, right? Because I took the wrong train, right? It's too funny. But it was a beautiful ride, and I'm happy it happened. So the flight from from Triana to Krakow was 44 euro, or $44, excuse me. And then the flight from Bucharest back to Triana was $88 or $89, I can't remember which. But the reason that flight was so much more is I upgraded to get the bag, so the extra bag, because I'd picked up a few things shopping and I didn't want to mess around. They get sticky sometimes, and it's funny because you'll go to the airport worried about them being sticky about the carry-on, the little personal bag, right, the free bag when you fly at base rates, and then nobody will pay attention. And then the one time when you're not worried about it, you're within your limits but you're close, they're sitting there weighing your bag, trying to tag you with an extra fee. And so it's just funny to me how that works. Whenever I'm worried about it, there's no problems. Whenever I'm not worried about it, it becomes an issue. But that extra bag, it almost doubled the price of the flight for just a little carry-on, right? So it's always a gamble if you're riding that line, and 7 kilos is what a lot of them are trying to hold you to on the personal bags. So that gets pretty tight, especially if you have a laptop or cameras or anything. But anyway, so my whole point of this is it was just one of the advantages of living in some place like Albania or Romania or, I haven't been to Bulgaria. I understand it's very much the same, but these inexpensive, West or Eastern European countries is you can jump flights to the most amazing places super cheap, and just boom, boom, you're gone. And in fact, I've got another flight coming up this week. I'm going off, headed north, right? And I found a couple of really great stays, so I'm looking forward to that. But it's just so easy to get up and go, and it's so inexpensive. You figure $45 to fly from Triana to Krakow. Now take that back to America. Where can you go for $45? You can get a taxi across town, maybe if you live in a small city, right? Maybe you can go get Taco Bell for 3 people. You can go get, just start thinking about that cost benefit, right? And the advantage to living someplace like this. Now, obviously, I'm traveling around a lot, and I was just sitting there and I saw the opportunity, and I was able to string together some inexpensive stays for me, and I put all the room walkthroughs in this block of videos. But it was just so funny to me how, these opportunities just kind of fall in your lap when you're aware and you're looking, and you're not trying to push or cram. There's no timeline, no agenda. And again, it was one of those things. There was a couple things I wanted to get done on this trip, and I got them done. The other one I wanted to do that I hadn't done before is I wanted to take the train from that eastern side or the western side of Romania back over to Bucharest, because it traverses through some cities with some good elevation. I got to see the mountains. That was probably one of the worst train rides I've had since I left California. It was probably like, I'd put it in the top 3 worst train rides for a lot of reasons, right? And the video was horrible, but the video was still important to me because I got to see some, it triggers the memories of what I actually got to see in person. And despite all the people and this and that, it was an amazing day. And that train ride in the wintertime, I don't know, full blown summer, if it would be as spectacular with no snow on the peaks. But in the wintertime, I will be looking to take that train, from, like this time I took it from Sighișoara to Bucharest. I meant to short circuit it, but I would even look at like Cebu to Bucharest would probably, I can't remember the tracks in my head, because the train routes there, they follow routes, right? But my point is I got to do what I want to do, because a lot of times I like to just sit and look out the window and check out what's going on, in the countryside between the cities. And it's really beautiful sometimes. Sometimes it's boring. Like, I've done the Budapest to Romania a few times on the train, and I'm going to start doing that at night, I think, because it is just so boring. And there's a couple night buses I can catch. If you catch the Flix bus, you can, if you book it far enough in advance, you can book the seat next to you. So if you're fatty like me, having the empty seat next to you is great, especially if you want to sleep, right? You can kind of put the one knee up and, get a full sideways sit going. And it's a really great way to sleep on the bus if you're a big guy. And it's also just nice because, there's nobody rubbing elbows with you. But there are some night buses that I've seen going from Budapest to Romania. And now that I've done that a few times, it's just like open, flat land. There's not a lot of scenery between Budapest and Romania. There's a couple things that are really neat and pretty, but I'll sleep next time. But once I get into Romania, there's so much for me to see. And I'm kind of a geek, right? And this is part of finding out who you are and what you like. And when you travel, what do you want to see? What do you want to spend your time doing? Some people don't want to ever get on a train or a bus because it's like, right? Me, I'll tune out and, plaster my face against the window, and I'm usually happy because, I get to see different things. And it's funny because, there's some routes I've taken enough where you start remembering, okay, I want to sit on the right side or the left side, right? And depending on where you're going and what the view is, like if I am going from Triana to Pogradec in Albania, going up the hill, I want to sit on the right side. Going down the hill, I want to sit on the left side. But that's a hard one because there's spots where both sides are really have a great view. But for me, it's always I guess it's the southern side. Always has a little bit better for me, but that's just me. And then once you get to Pogradec, it's the northern side of the bus. I think it's the northern side, yeah. That, you're driving along the lake, and so you get to see a great view of the lake that you miss on the other side. So anyway, but that was this trip in a nutshell, and a lot of it, like I said, was just, posted for me to kind of remember. I saw the room walkthroughs are getting a lot of hits. I'm not really sure why. They're just room walkthroughs. There's nothing spectacular when I do those. So if you come back and you see a room walkthrough and you're not interested, just ignore it. It doesn't hurt my feelings, doesn't bother me. I'm not in this YouTube thing for money. I'm in this to, have an experience, record it to whatever extent I want to, put it up there, and then it's a good trigger for my memories. It's a good, conversational piece. Or if there's something of value there, I can, when I meet somebody in person, I can say, hey, here's a video I did on this. It's shitty, but you can go watch the video. Because for me, like, you know, life is more about it in person, and that's something I'm going to talk about in future videos. I'm going to sit here and crank out a bunch of videos this week, and they'll probably get posted over the next 2-3 weeks while I'm traveling. But if you did enjoy it, I appreciate it. If you didn't enjoy it and you watch this video, you know, I would say go back and kind of look at what I'm talking about here when I lay out the, you know, how easy it is to travel, how easy it is to just get up and go. Because think about it, you know, $40 there, $80 back. I'm looking at 120 in flights. And then every city is 20 to 40 to get city to city. So you can get to so many places. And then it's just a matter of, you know, using your own techniques or mimicking somebody else's techniques or learning the hard way, you know, how and where you want to stay when you're in a city, and that changes on your activities. And maybe that's a whole nother video I can talk about what I've learned about how and where I want to spend money on different types or prices of hotels or stays based on where I'm at and my planned activities and my planned, you know, it's not just always a budget thing, right? It's like, you know, and that's wasting money is a whole nother subject I can spin off onto. There's so many subjects. But on this one, it was just a demonstration for some, and just for me, it was, you know, going and doing some things I wanted to. But if you take it as a demonstration of how easy it is to travel when you're retired or living abroad, or, you know, have a backpack, and, you know, it's, to me, you know, I think that's the biggest takeaway somebody could take away from this video series, is just how easy it was to just get up and go, and just get up and go on a moment's notice, you know, boom, boom, gone, and, you know, a little bit on the fly. And, you know, I didn't book that flight back until I was in Romania. So, you know, it is what it is, right? It was just a last minute thing. And if you're watching these things, you see these great deals. And, you know, I really struggle to understand a lot of these other retirees, these expats, a lot of these vloggers who I watch or, you know, casually pay attention to, and they're not going anywhere. They're not doing anything. They're like, oh, I'm walking down the street, and yeah, here's where you get your motorbike fixed, and here's this, and here's that. And that's good information. It's useful information, but, you know, it's not what floats my boat, right? I'm not the guy who wants to cut my grass twice a week in my retirement. I'm not the guy who wants to wash my windows twice a week in my retirement, right? I learned how to travel on a small budget, and maybe that's a whole nother thing I can spin off and talk about, but I want to go do things. I want to go travel, and having a small budget means, like, I can't, there's a boat down here that I want to go rent. I can't rent it because I don't have the money, right? Just don't have the money, right? There's all kinds of things to do here in Saranda, and some of them cost more money than I can afford, but I can also plan, save, and come back and do it, right? And so that's, you know, that's part of the thing. But I can't do everything I want to do, right? I don't have everything I want. I can't do everything I want to do, but I'm so happy with what I have, and I'm so grateful for what I am doing and the people I meet along the way. You know, again, it's one of those situations. If I start talking about how good my life is, I'll be boasting, I'll be bragging, and I don't want to go there. And part of it is because, you know, I was so scared. I was sitting in my chair just waiting to die, just, you know, going to Costco once a month, get my Crown, get my Coke, get my bagel dogs, get my corn dogs, and, you know, take my Costco cart home. And now, well, I'm here, right? Proof is in the pudding. 3 years on the road, and I've had issues, I've had problems, I've had, you know, catastrophes that last a few hours, because I just move on, right? I just move forward, and I keep smiling, right? And if I can't smile, it's easy enough to find somebody that can bring a smile to my face. So a couple shout outs here before I go. Focus on Asia. He is probably the best travel guide for Asia I've ever seen. He doesn't, I don't think he likes me calling him that. I don't think he wants to be a tour guide. I would very much pay to go on tours he organized or even planned, because I think he kicks the shit out of the places he goes, the things he finds is just phenomenal. And how he always finds phenomenal food, these are lessons I need to learn from him. But, you know, and his photography skills are off the chart. So, but if you want a good Asia channel to, you know, look and see what's possible, where you can go, where you can stay, he is probably one of the most active and coherent travelers in Asia I've seen, who I enjoy watching. And then if you need a laugh, I'm always plugging the Ugly Tourist. He always just makes me laugh. And lately, he's been really cranking it up on his scripts. Like, he did a script, I think it was The Angry Expat or something. I had to go back and watch it like so many times because so many of the little details and keywords he threw in there were so perfect. And I could write a script, you know, for 2 months and not nail it the way he did. So I really enjoy his content. So those are 2 plugs for the day. I'll have 2 more next time. But yeah, if you have a passport, get out and use it. If you don't have a passport, I don't know what to tell you. You know, don't be scared. Go get a passport. It doesn't hurt. Costs a little money. Doesn't hurt, right? It does cost a little bit of money. You have to get your picture taken, but it doesn't hurt to get your passport. So go get your passport, and then you can start like realizing that your dream to travel is very attainable, very doable. It's very, very doable. Even on a small budget, you can travel if you plan and focus. Plan and focus and execute. You can travel. I did it. Living in California, I was able to go to the Philippines multiple times just because I was focused, I was planning, and I had a goal I wanted to accomplish. When you focus on the goal, the getting there gets easier and easier and easier. And I'm about to spin off on a whole nother tangent, but I don't want to, so I'm gonna go. But yeah, get that passport. Get out and use it, and don't be afraid. Passports don't hurt.